Hey, and welcome back to our Spruce Grove Public Library's YouTube channel. And I'm Sarah, the Children and Youth Services Librarian here. And we are reading the Global Read Aloud 2018. And we are reading the teen pick because it is also our October pick for our Virtual Reading Club for teens. And it is Love, Hate and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. So if you haven't already started this book, then I do recommend you pick up a copy, and you can either read it yourself or you can read it along with us. Or if you just feel lazy and you can't be bothered this month, because face it, we're all kind of busy, then you can just listen to me reading it. So there we go. So we are up to chapter 8, and let's get on with that because we're all kind of busy people this week with Halloween coming up. So chapter 8. It's Wednesday and freakishly warm, and it's my third swimming lesson. I walk out of my room, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, and bump into my mother, literally. As-salam alaikum, Ummi. I sound too chipper. You're in a fine mood, Betta, my mum replies. Of course, a wave of suspicion passes over her face. What are you up to? Can't I just be in a good mood? That's more like it, my mum says, a rare twinkle in her eye. It strikes me as weird that she's not pushing me on this, but then I realise she must think my fine mood is because of Kareem. I wonder if she talks to Kareem's mum and if they're planning something. Crap. I can't ask her, and now I'm obsessing. And guilty. She has this uncanny gift of delivering guilt tied up in a bow, and without fail, I accept it. My mum honks in the driveway, and my mum kisses me on the cheek. Your daddy's always rushing me. Kudafi's, mum. Kudafi's better, and don't forget, I know, I'll eat something. The front door closes as I step into the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror. Definitely tanner. One more day of sun and Mum will notice. I'll have to lie again to explain how I could possibly get this tan at the bookstore or at the mall. I don't have a choice, and the lies keep making life easier for everyone. It's not even that I am interested in someone other than Kareem. That's tiny compared to the big fat NYU lie of omission. The response deadline is May 1st, only days away, and I'm fantasizing that a Deus Ex Machina will descend from heavens to resolve the situation. Greek tragedies with their revenge, suffering and extreme sorrow are roughly equivalent to dealing with my mother. So an intervention from Zeus or Athena seems a fair ask. Of course, I hate that this happens in movies, because it's 100% the opposite of real life. Like, if Lord of the Rings were a documentary, Frodo and Sam would totally have died in the fires of Mount Doom. But instead, giant eagles fly in at the end after a fade to black to rescue them. So why didn't Gandalf give the ring to the giant eagles in the first place? This has always bugged me. Whatever though. Violet and I just watched the trilogy for 12 hours of Aragon. No regrets. And I step into the shower hoping to wash away my anxiety. It doesn't work. If I don't make NYU happen, I might doom myself to the stay close to home, become a lawyer, and marry a suitable boy life that my parents dream of. I grab a towel as I step out of the shower. I have to tell them, I say out loud, hoping to convince myself, hoping to work up the courage. I take a peek at my phone. 3 missed texts, all from Kareem. Kareem says, "Morning, sunshine. Sleeping in? I have a surprise for you." And my spirits sink a little lower. He's trying too hard. Death knell. Of course, it's not like I've been discouraging him. I mean, I text flirt and wink my virtual eyelashes at him. I desire his interest. Basically, I'm leading him on. And while I do that, I feel like garbage. At least the texts, while not exactly a Deus Ex Machina, reveal a stark truth. Kareem isn't the one. He hasn't actually done anything wrong, except not be Phil. I know I have to break it off, but it's never been totally on, I guess. We did kiss, though, and it was a good kiss. Better than good, it was romantic. He is romantic, but it's still not enough. I have to tell Kareem the truth about Phil, or I'll be halfway to engaged by next summer. My mum already has visions of a big Indian wedding dancing in her head, and I could see it in her eyes when she said goodbye. I fall back on my bed and pull my knees into a towel knot. A montage of the kiss plays in my brain, the flower petals, the rain, the closeness of Kareem's skin to mine, and I close my eyes for a minute and take a deep breath and then another. I trace my collarbone with my index finger. He might not be the one, but so far at least he's been the only one. And when I turn to the clock, it's 10:50. Phil will be here in 10 minutes. So whirling around the room, I throw on my clothes, pull my hair tight into a low ponytail, snag my bag and camera. Hearing Phil's car in the driveway, I look in the mirror and frown, and then slather on some lip gloss. It will have to do because the doorbell is ringing. My camera rolls as Phil and I walk towards the garden. He pushes open the hip-high rusty iron gate and I zoom in on the iron curlicues, then pan up from the gravel path to Phil's face. He gazes directly into the camera and reveals the dimple, and begins his smooth narration. We're in the Fabian Forest Preserve. He talks and walks, and he's not self-conscious at all. The camera loves him. He's an easy subject to follow. He points out the sun-bleached wooden moon bridge with slats missing that arches across the dried-up pool. And when he points, I train my camera on the knotty dead trunks of Japanese maples and the cherry and ginkgo trees, gnarled limbs reaching towards the blue sky. The buds on a weeping spruce cascade over a small embankment, a little hint of life beneath the desiccated vines and leaves. He knows all their names. And when we reach the foot of the bridge, Phil pauses, sweeping his hand over the vista, as he talks about the vision of Taro Otsuko, Fabienne's private gardener, who designed this place. I walk up the gentle slope that leads to the bridge to get a long shot of Phil with the garden around him. I lose myself in his voice, imagining the garden in full bloom. Pink cherry blossoms, burgundy leaves of the maple tree, yellow forsythia, red azaleas. I'm not paying any attention to where my feet are. My flip-flop slips on some loose earth, and all at once I'm skidding downhill. Careful, Phil says. He's at my side in a flash. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm still rolling, so it'll be a good action sequence. Phil laughs. Is that all you think about? Not at all. I manage to whisper, and I bite my tongue and look away. I don't trust myself to blurt out something ridiculous. You're bleeding. Your knee. A drop of blood trickles down my leg. Crap. I don't suppose you have a tissue. Phil rifles through his backpack and pulls out a napkin and holds it to my knee. For a moment I forget about the sting of the cut and the embarrassment of my awkward nerd crash. Phil's hand is on my knee, separated by a questionably clean napkin. But still, I have a first aid kit in the cabin, he says, blotting and squinting at the wound. Are you okay to walk? I almost laugh. I think I can make it, I say dryly. He helps me up and wraps his arm around my waist. A gesture that's completely unnecessary, but I pretend my little injury is maybe a little worse than I thought. I luxuriate in the warmth of Phil's arm holding me, and when we arrive at the stone cottage, he directs me to the recliner, disappears into the small back room, a simple kitchenette, and emerges with the first aid kit. You're such a Boy Scout. Always prepared, Phil says, and he uses the alcohol-dipped swabs to clean the small gash on my leg. Ouch! Sorry, I wanted to make sure it doesn't get infected. It's not too deep. And Phil slathers bacitracin on the cut and covers it with a couple of bandages, then uses his water bottle to rinse away the dead blood from my leg. We shouldn't go into the water today. The pond is pretty clean, but there's still random stuff floating around in there, and those bandages aren't waterproof. Okay, Doc, shall I take 2 aspirin and call you in the morning? Aspirin is a blood thinner. If it hurts, take ibuprofen. You really know your first aid. I hope so. I want to become an EMT. I have ever since middle school. I'm taken aback. There's so much I don't know about Phil. So much more that I want to know. Really? I had no idea. Phil walks towards one of the painless windows. My dad had a heart attack when I was in 7th grade. What? Oh my God. So glad it all turned out okay. Yeah, me too. It's totally because of those 2 EMTs. He wouldn't have made it without them. And the 2 of us were at home shooting hoops in the driveway, and suddenly my dad started clutching his arm and having these chest pains. I totally froze, but my dad told me to call 911, and I did. And then they got him. They basically diagnosed it, stabilized him, and 10 minutes later they were wheeling him into surgery. That must have been terrifying. It was. I don't think I've ever felt so scared and helpless in my life, and I never want to feel that way again. All I could think of was I didn't want my dad to die. I didn't know what it was called then, but the EMTs basically performed an ECG, an electrocardiogram, right there, transmitted the data to the hospital, and an interventional cardiologist was waiting for us when we wheeled him in. They got a balloon to open his blocked artery in less than 60 minutes from when I called. That's what saved his life. I'll never forget how calm and together and fast the EMTs were. After they got my dad secured in the ambulance, the EMT who rode in the back with me made sure I was okay and explained everything to me. She didn't talk down to me like I was some dumb kid, which is basically what I felt like. She was so kind and understanding and answered all my questions and stayed with me until my mum and brother got to the hospital. She sounds amazing. She was. And after that, I wanted to learn everything about what happened to my dad, so I researched everything I could. And I put myself in charge of his rehab at home and was on him all the time about his eating habits. So that's your origin story, I said, brushing my hand against his shoulder. I guess it is, he said, a shy smile emerging on his face. which had turned serious when talking about his dad. So if we're not going swimming, do you want to head back, I say? I pray the answer is no. Not unless you want to. I'm not working till later, he says. Me neither. Cool. I left our lunch cooler in the car. I'll be right back. The door shuts behind him. The spare room is shadowy, even with the sunlight filtering through the small windows. And I notice a rolled-up sleeping bag in the corner along with an inflatable camping pillow. I get up to explore and step into the little kitchen. Cans of food line on a built-in wooden shelf. There's a couple of gallons of water, a thermos, a large plastic cup filled with plastic forks and knives. The ultimate rustic bachelor pad, I think. I wonder how much time Phil spends here alone versus with Lisa. Lisa. She probably wouldn't be happy knowing I'm here now. Best not to dwell on that. I take a blanket and walk outside and spread it on a grassy patch in front of the cottage. I lie back. Passing clouds cast shadows across my face, and I shut my eyes. Maya? My eyelids flutter open and Phil's face floats over mine. I thought for a second you'd fallen asleep. He settles in next to me and hands me a sandwich, and we eat quietly for a moment. I catch him eyeing my cut, making sure the bandage is in place. Can I ask you a question? He looks up at me. Sure. Why haven't you told anyone you want to be an EMT? I'm sure your parents would be thrilled. They say they're cool with it, but I think they secretly wish I would go to school and then come home and run our family gas station with my brother. And pretty much everyone else assumes that too. I mean, some of my friends, they're already making plans to come back to Batavia after college. That's just not what I want. And by friends, I assume he means Lisa. So the old expectation thing? Believe me, I totally understand. Phil nods. It's not that my parents are upset. They're actually pretty happy I'm interested in something other than playing college football. But they wish I wasn't going so far away. My mum's been researching all these Midwestern places where I could get certified. Where are you going? I feel like I should ask this, but realise I never bothered to ask. Green Mountain College in Vermont. Sounds all outdoorsy and autumnal. The tone in Phil's voice lifts. It's awesome, but you know, in the wilderness, I'll major in adventure recreation and take classes in EMT services. So when I graduate, I can be a paramedic or work with programs like Outward Bound. Adventure recreation? I know, ridiculous name, right? My mum asked me why I couldn't have adventure and recreation closer to home or someplace cheaper, but it's one of the best programs out there that teaches survival skills, like surviving a bear attack. When I can find out how, I'll let you know. I can't wait, and I place my hand on his arm. He doesn't flinch. But I still don't get why you won't tell any of your friends. There's no football team. This comes as almost more of a surprise than anything else. Phil has told me because he's literally the poster boy for Batavia High School football. But don't you want to play football? I mean, at all? I was recruited to play football at a couple of smaller Division 1 schools. Easton has a really good coach. That could have meant a partial scholarship. But I honestly don't care if I don't play football at school. Like I told you, it wasn't even my first choice of a sport. It just sort of happened. I love it, but now everyone expects me to play. But I'm ready to move on, try something different, you know? So your parents are okay with it, and you're set, right? Does Lisa know? I don't know why I say Lisa's name. This time, the space between me and Phil, it's like this perfect, intricate diorama. And when I say her name, it reminds me that we're just paper figures taped inside a shoebox. He shakes his head and lowers his eyes, twirling a few blades of grass between his fingers. No. You're the first person I've told outside of my family. A tiny flicker of hope lights up inside me. If Lisa doesn't know anything about his college plans, she and Phil can't be that serious anymore, right? This could mean something. On the other hand, I'm certain they haven't broken up. And Violet is definitely certain, and I rely on her to determine the truth regarding all affairs de coeur, especially long distance from Paris. Maybe I'm just another one of Phil's secrets. He lies back and stares into the sky. It's complicated. How? She's going to Easton. She thinks I'm going with her. I know I need to tell her. I just can't bring myself. I've been avoiding it. Tell her what you told me. She'll understand. I clamp my mouth shut, but it's too late. The words were already out. Not only am I giving him relationship advice, but it's totally hypocritical because it's advice I'm dishing out, but totally not able to take. From myself, I'm hiding from my parents, and to be honest, from Kareem too. And Phil's hiding from Lisa. We both have truths that we're hiding from practically everyone else except each other. Doubt it, she's not into the outdoors at all. I mean, maybe an outdoor mall. I see a chance to ask Phil the question that's been gnawing at me for 3 days. I'm holding back, because I know I shouldn't fish in none of my business waters. But I cast my line. Lisa must love this place though, it pretty much feels outdoorsy. Phil is silent for a moment. I never brought her here, he said finally. My heart thumps against my ribcage like it has wings, and my brain floods with words, but I don't blurt them out. I hold on to the stillness of this moment, waiting for what he will say next. I've never brought anyone here. Except you. You're the only person I can talk to about this stuff. Tom won't get me not wanting to play football. You know Tom, right? He's going to Easton too, along with Megan. All of them, Tom, Megan, Lisa, especially Lisa, have this idea that we'll be together there and after college be back here. Phil's voice trails off. I shake my head. I do know Tom, but in my mind he's pretty much indistinguishable from the rest of Phil's teammates. They're your friends, they'll get it. Maybe. And Phil turns his attention from the clouds and focuses on me. Remember the other day when we were at the cafe and you said how you wanted to be in New York and how you were sick of being so different here? I got that. My heart's still beating fast. You get wanting to go to New York and being the only Muslim girl in school. I make it a joke, but I'm keenly aware that Phil understands me more than anyone else because he's keeping a secret too. Maybe more than one. Phil sits up and laughs. Exactly, it's cool that my whole family stays in Batavia, but I want to see what else is out there. I want to take some time to explore, on my own, out in the wild. I'll carry everything I need to live in my backpack. My talk with Kareem springs to mind, but I don't see him. I don't even see his voice, or hear his voice. I see only Phil in front of me. You want to go to the woods to live deliberately, and you want to suck the marrow out of life. He blinks at me. That sucking marrow part went over my head, but yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm quoting Thoreau. That explains it, and Phil laughs again and fishes out a worn piece of paper from his wallet. I want to show you something. A couple of seasons ago, Coach Robert had this sports psychologist come and talk to us. He did this exercise where he told us to write down 3 goals on a piece of paper and then fold it up and put it away. We weren't supposed to show it to anyone. Of course we did anyway. It turned out that we all wrote pretty much the same thing. We wanted to win homecoming, or bench press small weight, or set the school rushing record. Is that what you wrote? He shrugs. More or less, because I knew what would happen, but it felt phony. Laughing with my friends later. I almost felt sort of sick inside. I've never felt that way around any of them. You know, fake. So that night at home I went and wrote another list and put it in my wallet, and it's been there ever since. Phil slowly unfolds the piece of paper and hands it to me. Here. I take the crinkled treasure from his hands and read his chicken scratch writing. 1. Hike along the knife-edged trail to the top of Mount Katahdin. 2. Swim in the Pacific Ocean. And 3. Kayak the Colorado River. A tiny lump swells in my throat and I'm quiet. It's stupid, right? I shake my head. Is Phil taking my silence as judgment? Not at all, I say in a rush. It's nice. No, that's not the right word. I mean, it's beautiful. And I stumble for words. I can imagine how difficult it must have been to show me this hallowed piece of paper. I hope you get to do it all and much more. And I place the paper back in his hand, letting my fingers linger across his palm. He smiles. Number 4 was to teach Maya to swim. Liar, he laughs, and I laugh. Okay, maybe I just added that one, but I'm going to do it. And his eyes meet mine. You believe me, don't you? I nod, and I don't trust myself to speak. I like that I can be myself around you. And Phil rolls up a towel and places it on the ground snug against my thigh. And then he puts the top of his head on my leg, his neck supported by the towel roll, and he closes his eyes. Do you mind? Not at all, I manage to whisper, and I bite my lip. I'm thankful he can't see my face, that his eyes are closed, because I am flushed. Every muscle in my body seems to be screaming, but I am still as the woods, and I watch the rise and fall of his t-shirt. I breathe evenly to relax and to match it. And without a word, Phil reaches out and grazes my fingers and pulls my hand gently towards his chest. I'm not sure how much time passes, but no one else exists, only us. And we sit, hands clasped, until it's time to leave. And that's the end of chapter 8, so thanks for listening. And we'll have more chapters soon. And as I said, don't forget, this is Love, Hate and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed, which is also our teen pick for our virtual book club for October. And we've just released our new picks for November, so do check that out. Thanks.